Hello and welcome to the Foxhole cast, an all for the game reread podcast. I'm Una.
And I'm Nate.
Today we'll be covering the WIMAC POV bonus chapter that was included in the back of the Rainbow Crate special edition of the Foxhole Court, which was published last year. If you want to buy the special editions of the books, complete with updated cover art and other fun extras, you can find them at rainbowcratebookbox.com. If you don't want to pay money to read the bonus chapters, someone posted pictures of them on Tumblr and Nora Sakovich herself reblogged them, thus giving us her blessing to read without paying. The link to read the bonus chapters in their entireties can be found at thefoxholecast.tumblr.com/foxarchive. Before we get into this, though, there's some news from Sakovich about the continuation of the All for the Game series. Last night, she posted on her Tumblr a list of the book titles in the series, and she included a prequel and a sequel, and also revealed the title of the third Sunshine Court book.
Nice. Okay, I didn't quite understand that post. I was like, okay, this section is the prequel name, and this section is the Queen's game. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But I see now. Yeah. I understand.
No, I get I set it on Tumblr, so I get notifications whenever she posts. And last night I saw that she posted, and it was like late at night. I was already in bed, and I was like, what does this mean? Like, I could not decipher it, and I forgot about it until I got on Tumblr today, and people were talking about it. And I didn't believe it at first. People were saying, like, oh my god, there's going to be Kevin books. And I'm like, you're reading too much into her post. That post didn't mean that. But then she kind of, like, confirmed it in the replies, I think.
Nice. Yeah, I saw a screenshot of that reply.
Yeah, let me just quick look at what the titles were, because now I'm forgetting. Okay, so the prequel is gonna be called, she tagged this working titles, so these might change, but for now, the prequel is called The Perfect Court. The third Sunshine Court book, which is presumably going to come out later this year or next year, is called The Broken Cage, so that's gonna wrap up Jean's storyline. And then after that, there's a book called The Queen's Game. And yeah, people are pretty excited.
Yeah, I would say so.
I'm people. It's me.
People confirmed.
So yeah, it's really fitting that Sakovich posted about Kevin POV books the night before we record our episode about this bonus chapter.
We're on the same astral wavelength. We share a dream space.
Yeah.
We're getting messages from our souls connecting in quantum space.
Yeah, exactly. Sakovich and us were connected through the ether.
Yes, we're like three faces of the same consciousness. like Jesus and stuff. No, we're bigger than Jesus, actually.
We're the Holy Trinity.
Yes.
We're the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost.
Yes.
Up in here.
Up in here.
Speaking of fathers and sons.
Well, good transition.
This bonus chapter takes place between chapters 4 and 5 of the Foxhole Court. So Neil just got his Yakuza 101 lesson from WIMAC. Before we actually start on the chapter itself, I love how this story uses WIMAC's first name, which is David, instead of WIMAC. Because, from Neil's perspective, in the Foxhole Court books, he's WIMAC because he's Coach WIMAC, and Neil calls him WIMAC. But from David's point of view, he's David.
Right.
And even though we're so used to reading him as WIMAC, calling him David in this story is just, making it so much more personal.
Yeah, it would feel weird if it was Coach WIMAC stared after Neil. It would be he's still in his role as the coach rather than just being himself.
Yeah.
I did still write down Coach WIMAC for all my observations, though. I'm to me, he's still Coach WIMAC.
At first, when I started taking notes, I was writing WIMAC, and then I'm no, I'm shifting into David mode.
Nice.
The chapter starts with David's narration, lamenting how the conversation with Neil went. He wishes he could have sat down with Neil to explain everything better, but he thinks Neil actually took everything pretty well. Maybe even too well.
I really like the line, surely the fucking Yakuza of all things should have made a dent.
Yeah, I also quoted that.
I also like this part because during that conversation, Neil's like, I'm being so sneaky. I'm throwing him off the trail. I'm reacting exactly perfectly. And then he walks away and David is like, that kid's pretty sketchy.
Yeah, there's something wrong with that boy. David makes a note to examine Neil's single-mindedness about Exie later. After Neil leaves to go for his run, David heads back into his apartment and finds Kevin on his couch with the bottle of vodka he gave him. David suggests that Kevin start seeing Betsy the psychiatrist again. Kevin immediately says no and sets the bottle of vodka out of David's reach so he can't take it away, which is just like, I don't know, it's not funny, but it's funny that he's like instinctively like, Coach Wymack's gonna try and take this away from me, so I'm gonna put it out of his reach.
That is funny, and also that, like, if he can't reach it, he can't get it. Like,
yeah.
he can't possibly get past my defenses.
Yeah, that's the logic of a person on their way to being truly drunk. David's internal narration says he himself prefers whiskey and he doesn't know how Kevin can, quote, knock this rancid shit back like water, which same.
Having tried whiskey and vodka, they're both fucking gross. They're disgusting. But I have a deeper question, which is, so if Coach Wymack is judging Kevin for drinking vodka, that means that he didn't start Kevin drinking, but Kevin has only been able to, like, drink for, like, less than a year at this point, right?
Yeah.
So, like, when did he start and who got him on vodka? Or was he just like, this one is the simplest, it's clear like water?
I'm sure it was Andrew.
Yeah.
At least that's what I think.
Yeah, you're totally right. Andrew was like, try this. Have you seen that? Like, the thing where it's like, what if your brother offers you drugs and he's like, try this, it's just 2 ibuprofen and it'll take the pain away.
No, I haven't seen that.
It's like a meme somewhere. But anyway, that's Andrew to Kevin, but with vodka.
Yeah, I can imagine Kevin, like, never having drunk alcohol before, and Andrew learns this and is like, oh yeah, we're gonna ease him in nice and slow to alcoholism. Vodka. Straight vodka. No mixer.
What if Kevin doesn't know? Andrew's like, yeah, that's just how we do it. And Kevin's like,
yeah.
Kevin's like, okay.
Just makes himself drink it. I can also picture them going to Eden's Twilight and Kevin not knowing how to order a drink at the bar and just being like, vodka is something people drink, right? And just ordering that.
That's so funny. And the bar and Roland's like, wow, this kid knows what he's doing.
Hardcore.
And Kevin like takes a sip and he's like, oh no. But he has to commit.
God. Kevin chugs half a mug of vodka before explaining why he doesn't want to go back to Betsy. Quote, I spent all of spring on her couch. This is better. Easier? Better. Which is heartbreaking. But it's like, this is easier for him, so he's like, I'm not going back to Betsy. That was too much work. It was too hard.
Mm-hmm. He's going to push those feelings down instead, which historically always works for people in the Foxhole Court universe.
Yeah. David tells him that alcohol is a temporary crutch and that he should give Betsy another chance. Kevin just says he doesn't trust her and clumsily pours himself another mug of vodka. He spills some, and the narration says, he set the bottle down, looked around for something to clean his mess with, and ended up patting at the puddle with his hand.
Favorite thing.
All-time Kevin moments. This is the man we're getting 2 whole books about. I can't wait.
Kevin bleeding on the floor, just like, Pat, I can fix this. I can fix this.
Oh man, I can't fucking wait for those books.
Yeah, I'm starting to get excited too.
Yeah, just thinking about all that they could contain, possibly. Like, people are already speculating, like, are we gonna get Kevin and Jean and Rico at Evermore? Yes. And what will that do to our psyches to read that? I'm
just so happy also that it's, like, not over. Like, reading the Sunshine Court 2 first books in the trilogy, I was like, this is great. It's so sad that after this, like, not that we have to stop caring about these books, but I'm like, then it'll be settled.
Yeah.
It'll be done. Like,
that's what I was thinking too. I'm like, damn, Sakovich only came back to write about Jean because, like, his story was calling to her, and after this, like, I was pretty convinced that we would never get any more Foxhole Court.
Yeah, same.
All for the game. I was like, this is it. Like, this is Jean's story, and when she's done with this, she's out of the game. But no, the game never ends.
The game never fucking ends.
Kevin explains that he doesn't trust Betsy because, quote, she's Andrew's. He also says that she and Andrew text all the time. So good.
I want to believe that they like text about deep stuff, but it's mostly like Andrew's like, I saw a bird today, and Betsy's like, that's great, how did that make you feel?
Yeah, what could they possibly... I mean, in one of these books, when it's Halloween, she texts Andrew a picture of her Halloween costume.
That's great.
As a bee, because she's B for Betsy.
That's very good. I feel like they are just shooting the shit. Like, yeah. Betsy's just like, good, I'm making progress with this troubled youth.
Yeah, just having, casual combos.
Yeah.
But I love that Kevin reads that as, like, Andrew owns her. Andrew has staked claim on her, so I can't talk to her. She belongs to Andrew. Because that's the world that Kevin comes from.
Right,
like,
right.
Everyone belongs to someone else, and these books are very obsessed with the idea of, like, possession and who belongs to whom and whatnot.
Right. It makes so much sense that Kevin would be like, yeah, Betsy's taken. Yeah. That's just how it works.
It also lines up with what Andrew himself believes, because in one of the books, when he's talking about when they have their conversation at lunch or at break in practice, and Andrew and Renee start talking about a zombie apocalypse scenario.
Yeah.
And Andrew says that he would come back for 5 people in the case of a zombie apocalypse, and Neil figures out that it's the 4 of the squad, like Kevin, Nikki, Aaron, Neil, and then the 5th person is Betsy.
Aww.
Because Renee has, like, ownership in his mind of all the upperclassmen.
Right, so obviously he wouldn't be taking Renee because he knows she can handle herself.
Exactly. So in Andrew's mind, Betsy is also his, kind of, just, like, by his logic.
I love that it, like, lines up and just shows, like, Andrew, like, weirdly fitting in with the perfect court's mentality without ever having been there.
Right? Yeah. David assures Kevin that Betsy would never reveal his secrets to Andrew, but Kevin doesn't believe this. David asks Kevin, what could you be holding on to still that would drive you this far away from her? And Kevin refuses to answer. And I assume that the thing that Kevin is hiding here is just, like, the entirety of what he went through at the nest. Just, like, all of the torture and what he had to witness.
Yeah. Yeah, like, it's just the everything.
Yeah.
I also wonder if he wants to hide stuff about Jean because he feels at fault for what Jean is still experiencing. And he's like, they wouldn't let me stay here if they knew what I had done.
Oh, yeah. Like, he also feels guilty, so he's trying to avoid confronting the fact that he abandoned Jean.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. Like, even within his own mind.
Yeah.
He just has to cut that part out.
Yeah, damn. When David tries taking the vodka away, Kevin says, you have to let me have this. Your rules. Andrew said so. I'm one of your foxes now. This is referring to the fact that David has a policy of not interfering with the team's drug and alcohol habits, a policy that the team nurse Abby disagrees with. And I also disagree with.
Yeah. I was like on the one hand, like before this, I was literally like cutting up caffeine pills in my room to take on my family vacation. But on the other hand, I'm like, as the supervising person in this situation, like, you gotta draw the line somewhere. Like, you gotta be at least like actively trying to have them, like, he's like, would they just hide it if he didn't let them do it? But I feel like just like, you're not supposed to do that, man. Like, there's gotta be a better way. Maybe I've never worked with like a gang of troubled youths before. Maybe there's not a better way.
Yeah, I think that part of it has to do with the fact that, we'll get to this later, but when David proposes a deal with Kevin about like, I'll get you alcohol, but you have to talk to Betsy, he thinks about how Andrew could just get alcohol for Kevin. Like, Kevin doesn't need David for this, but if he does make this deal with him, then he has some oversight over what Kevin does.
That's true, yeah. He's like, Matt, I can get you speedballs. I know a guy.
About Abby disagreeing with the whole drugs and alcohol habits of the team, the narration says, maybe she was right, or maybe she didn't have enough nightmares to understand, which is kind of raw.
Yeah.
I like that line. The next line says, David rubbed a thumb along his knuckles, looking for blood he'd washed off years ago. Which is notable because this is something that both Neil and Jean do.
Oh shit, you're right.
Neil especially is always checking his fingernails for blood, and it like reminds him of the time that he burned his mother's body. So it like comes back to him in moments of difficulty.
When I find myself in times of trouble.
Yeah, he checks his fingernails for blood, and yeah.
And for Wymack, this, like, his big thing is his father was abusive, right?
Yes, this is a reference to David's tragic backstory that Sakovich put in the extra content, and it involves him beating up his dad after dad hurt mom.
Okay, I assumed it was like him beating up his dad, but I only knew like bad dad.
Yes, super bad dad. Someday we'll go over the extra content and we can talk about David's full backstory. David tries to focus on Kevin and remembers what Kevin's mom, Kaylee, told him over the phone years ago. He isn't yours, David. You have nothing you need to worry about. Except she's Irish, so pretend I said that in an Irish accent. The next line says, years later, he still didn't know if relief or disappointment had put the hotter fire in him. Which is great. Mm-hmm. Like, he doesn't know whether he was relieved or disappointed that he didn't have a son with Kaylee.
First of all, Coach Wymack, Dean Winchester parallels.
Okay.
Because, like, when Lisa has Ben, Dean's kid, and they, like, spend the whole episode like, wow, Dean and this kid both like rock music and being rude.
That's right! Yeah. Oh my god!
But then at the end of the episode, Lisa's like, no, he's not yours. I had a biker guy that I also slept with because I know how to have a good time. And Dean is like, oh, okay. But Shayla O'Malley is like, you can see in his face that he's kind of disappointed about this because he wants to be a father.
I agree. Yeah, that is actually... Yep. I was skeptical when you first said that, but yes, you have successfully argued your thesis statement to me. Consider me convinced. After that phone call, David stopped calling Kaylee, and when Kevin was 8 or 9 years old, Kaylee died, and he got, quote, absorbed into Edgar Allan's strange team to be raised as a publicity stunt. I don't think that we knew how old Kevin was when Kaylee died before this.
I think you're right, because I always assumed he was like way younger, like 3 or 4.
I think I always pictured like 9. Like if you had made me guess before I read this, I probably would have said 8 or 9. I don't know why that feels right to me. Maybe it is in the books. I can't remember.
Yeah, if it is, I don't remember. But just reading this made me think, because I was like, wow, he had a relatively normal, because I feel like we can discuss Kaylee Day later. Mm-hmm. He had a relatively normal childhood before going into the nest. And it's like, wow, he turned out pretty fucked up still. But I was thinking that like the difference between him and Rico, who spent his whole life in the nest immediately from birth, or like in a nest-like environment.
Right.
Is that like Kevin still has like, he's kind of like, he's stunted, but he's like developed these ways that he's supposed to react and like emotions that he's supposed to have. And Rico has been so cut off from like any kind of normal affection that he's basically a sociopath because he didn't learn how to develop connections with other people during that crucial developmental stage.
Right. Kevin at least got a little bit of that.
Right.
That crucial development. Yeah. Damn. That Kevin prequel is sounding really good right now. That Kevin prequel would go down so smooth. It's gonna be years until that book is out, though.
What did somebody say? This is a reason not to kill yourself?
Yeah, literally! We always have this to look forward to now. Yes. At least for the next 2 or 3 years. Sometimes it's the little things that keep you going. This
is a big thing, actually.
Yes, this is a major fucking historical event.
Yes.
Anyway, David tells Kevin, you're not just a fox, you're Kaylee's son. Kevin recoils and they both go silent. And just like thinking about this, because at this point, Kevin knows that Wymack is his dad.
Right.
And David thinks that Kevin is decidedly not his son. But, like, I think maybe deep down he, like, kind of thinks so.
Like, he definitely, like, when he says Kevin is different, like, even if he doesn't really think so, he still can't help but treat him. It's like in Repo the Genetic Opera, when the creepy guy is like, if your mom hadn't met your dad, you would be my kid.
Oh my god, yeah! Kind of reversed, like, Wymack is thinking, like, you could have been my son just as easily as you were anyone else's son.
Right, yeah. And so he can't get that possibility. Like, he can never treat Kevin like that was never a possibility.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, just thinking about when David says, you're Kaylee Day's son, like, question, was Kevin doomed from the start because he was already born into this role? He was already the son of Exie, even before he was sent to Evermore.
I think if Kaylee had lived, Kevin would still be... I think he would still have issues about being so in the public sphere, and any proximity to Rico is bad.
Yeah, that's true.
But if he didn't have to actually, like, live at Evermore and be Rico's pet or whatever, like, then he would be a lot different, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say, just because, like, I think Wymack has to know deep down. Like, maybe he's denying it to himself, but, like, even though in this story, his narration talks about how Kevin looks so much like Kaylee, and I understand that that's, like, kind of the narration trying to explain away that Kevin doesn't look like David.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, he has to look a little bit like David.
He's like, that part's just a coincidence, surely. He looks more like his mom. Maybe she had a thing for guys that look like me.
Yeah. She had a type, and...
Kevin is born with the tattoos.
But yeah, either way, whether he thinks Kevin is his son or not, he easily could have been his son, so he treats him like a son. And because he had this connection with Kaylee, regardless of the fact that they were romantically involved, Wymack and Kaylee had a deep relationship that was built on Exie.
Right. And David does say that, like, he eventually wanted to marry her, and that's when he made himself leave.
Yeah.
So at least we're getting ahead again, but I actually theorized that it was also romantic for Kaylee, but we can discuss... Or no, wait, actually, this is the appropriate moment to discuss. I was thinking, like, because I assume that if she's able to tell David that Kevin is not his with such confidence, like, she either had Kevin's parentage tested... Like, it just seems like if you had sex with, like, multiple dudes within 9 months of when you had a kid, it's like, you gotta be like, could you really be sure that it's not, like, which dude it is or is not? But I theorize that she does know that it's Coach Wymack's, but says on purpose that it's not his kid because she also is in love. She doesn't want to be. She has to distance herself for the both of their sake. And she's like, see, it's not your baby. We have no reason to talk. Like, he doesn't call her for 9 years, and she doesn't call him either.
Yeah. I totally agree that Kaylee was also in love with David, but I'm gonna slightly change the reasoning.
Okay.
I think that, Kaylee could have been having sex with other dudes. That's fine. She can do that. But also, I think maybe she wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And she was in love with David and lied to him about having other suitors.
Ooh.
So that he would believe that Kevin wasn't his, because Kaylee didn't want to stop David's career.
Mm-hmm.
Because in one of the books, I think it's when Jean reveals to Neil that Wymack is Kevin's dad and talks about the letter that Kaylee wrote to Tetsuji that Kevin found in Tetsuji's house.
Right.
The reason that Kaylee didn't settle down with David is because he was, like, having a professional Exie career, and she didn't want to keep him from that. So she thought she was being selfless by not tying him down, but...
He really wanted to be tied.
He really wanted to be tied down. So yeah, David thinks about how the relationship was just supposed to be casual, and Kaylee was upfront about that. But then when David started thinking about wanting to marry her, he left. I think that their love story is just one of those, like, they don't think that they deserve each other.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they would have been perfect together, they're like, no, it can never work between us.
And they're always each other's, like, one that got away.
Literally. David tells Kevin he'll compromise. Kevin can keep drinking, and David will even buy him alcohol if he wants, but, quote, every time you use one as a crutch, you have to schedule an appointment with Betsy to tackle the actual issue. I'm not sure how I feel about this deal. Like, would it work? Does it work?
I was thinking, like, just the amount that Kevin drinks. I feel like it's kind of a constant thing. It's not like he's like, wow, thinking about my sordid past for the last few minutes, I'm going to drink some booze. He drinks a lot. Like, he drinks to quell panic attacks, but I feel like he probably drinks a lot just, like, casually, not getting super drunk, but just, like...
Right. It's not that he, like, has a bad thought and then goes to drink as a direct result of that. It's just, like, a general thing. Like,
right. Because, I mean, I know he's tall, but his tolerance seems so high. Like, he's just chugging this all the time.
I would really love to, when we get to the chapter where Wymack gives Kevin a bottle of vodka and says that he has like 30 seconds or whatever to like chug as much as he can before they go into the banquet. I want to like see how fast I can chug water.
Yes.
And like measure how much. And then we can like assume Kevin's like body mass index or whatever and do the math to see how drunk he gets.
This is an incredible idea. I love that you have planned this out.
I think about it every time I get to that scene. I'm like, I need to know how much he's actually drinking in this. Anyway, David expects Kevin to say that Andrew can just get him alcohol so he doesn't have to agree to this deal, but then Kevin does. And David knows that Betsy won't betray Kevin's trust, but he promises that if she does, he'll have her reassigned away from the team, just as like another way to convince Kevin to go to her. David says, "Coach's honor," and Kevin replies, "Coaches have no honor. Your word is enough. Just yours."
God.
This is like so similar to what Jean decides at the end of The Golden Raven.
You're so right.
When he's like thinking about putting coaches on his list of good things that he repeats to himself, that he decides like coaches have too much baggage. I'm going to put fathers.
Yes. God.
It's so good.
And, like, do you think... I feel like Kevin must be saying this, like, when he means your word. Like, he means as my father. Like, he doesn't just mean, like, you're a good dude.
I think it's both.
Okay.
I think it's like, yes, you're special because you're my dad, but also Wymack has proven himself to be a good guy in taking care of Kevin.
That's true. Yeah. It is funny that the only other real coach Kevin has to compare him to is like the guy who like basically has a dog fighting ring with like high schoolers. Like, he's like, yeah, you're way better than my last coach. And the last coach is, like, throwing them into a pit of rats or something.
Yeah, exactly.
At my old school, we never...
Kevin should say that more often. Yeah. At my old school. When Nikki comes to pick Kevin up, David walks him downstairs and helps him get into the car. When Nikki questions why Kevin is drunk in the middle of the day, David lies and says it's about the school board demanding public appearances from them. And Kevin is, like, listening carefully so he can repeat the lie to Andrew later.
I love, what was it, with the deep focus, the intense focus of the truly sly.
Yes.
I love that.
That was a good description, right?
Because it's so true when you're drunk. Like, I read a thing from, also on movie critic Shayla O'Malley's blog, that they tell actors, don't act drunk. Act like you're trying not to act drunk. Because that's how you get that, like, kind of tight tension, but also sloppiness of, like... Because in most situations, drunk people aren't like, yeah, I'm so drunk. Look at how drunk I am. They're like, I'm going to be normal. I'm so normal. Nobody can even tell because I'm just having a chill time.
Yeah, exactly. Same for being high, I think. Like, when you're impaired but you're trying to focus, you get, like, a specific kind of focus that's, like, very obvious.
Right. You're like, you'll be sitting and be like, people are, like, talking, you'll be like, yeah, that is true. Green is a good color. And they're like, we were talking about something completely unrelated.
Yeah. But just, like, the laser focus of, like, I need to remember what you're saying to me right now.
Right. I need to prove that I am listening and comprehending.
Yeah, literally. Nikki taps on Kevin's hip until Kevin puts his seatbelt on, which I love.
Yes.
Love that Nikki is just like such a mom friend.
You're so right. You're so right. I was just like, yeah, touch his hips, boy. But...
that too.
But you're so right that Nikki's like, you are not getting in my car if you're not buckling your fucking seatbelt.
Yeah. Yeah, and that would be smart too, because Nikki drives wildly. So
Nikki is like a cross between the mom friend and the weird uncle.
Yes, that's what he is. He's the wild cousin.
Yeah, you're right.
He cares, but also he'll get a little crazy. he'll go a little wild. In response to the thing David says about the school board demanding public appearances, Nikki suggests, just smile and nod at them, and they'll be too busy drooling over you to care what you're actually saying. Works on me every time. And then the narration says, Nikki wasn't the only one so easily swayed, but if Nikki and Kevin were both too blind to figure that out, David wasn't going to put it together for them. There's a lot to unpack here. I'm assuming that David is thinking of Andrew.
Yeah, I had to think for a minute, and I'm like, yeah, who else could it be, right? Because it's not Neil. There's really no other guys. I guess Aaron?
Yeah, the Kev-Aaron truthers are out here. I mean, maybe it could be Neil, because Neil stares at Kevin a lot, and Nikki interprets that as Neil is, like, into Kevin.
That's true.
But Wymex seems more, like, intuitive and wiser. Like, Nikki thinks that everyone's just, like, Nikki thinks everyone's hot for each other.
Yeah. Nikki's like, we're all trapped in a cage of horniness, right?
Nope, just me. So, yeah, I think Wymex is talking about Andrew.
I really like that he's like, that, like, literally nobody catches on except, like, Coach Wymex with his, like, old, wizened, finely honed gaydar.
Yeah, exactly. That's the other thing that I really, really want in, like, a Kevin POV book, is just, like, interactions between him and Andrew. Because we never, like, see any conversations with just the two of them.
That's true. Like, it's always either Neil, like, kind of being suspicious, or, like, being like, wow, they're so cool and they're so mysterious, kind of. Or, like, that one time when Jean, like, sees how they act with each other, and it's, like, cute. Like, I forget when it's like when Andrew and Kevin come to LA. But yeah, you're right. We never just see, like, just them, just two guys having a good time. Probably having a bad time, actually.
Yeah, I just need to know, like, how do they talk to each other? Because they both talk in such weird ways that, like, humans don't typically talk in.
You're so right.
And I just, like, need to know how they interact when it's just the two of them.
It would be so funny if they just completely drop their normal ways of talking and are like, hey, dude, how's it going?
I can't imagine that. Anyway, the chapter ends with David looking up at the sky in search of Kaylee's disapproving glower, saying, I'm sorry, and heading back inside to go get himself a drink.
God damn.
A good bonus chapter.
Yes, truly. It's one of those where you're like, why would we need that? And then after you read it, you're like, oh, it brings everything together. Like, how could we not need that?
Exactly. I think Sakovich is so good at writing from different people's points of view.
Yes. And, like, it feels different, but, like, not in a way that's, like, she needs to, like, have, like, really obvious ways to tell the characters apart.
Yeah. I remember when these bonus chapters first came out, and I was just so impressed. I mean, this was before Golden Raven came out.
Oh, dang. Okay.
And I just remember being like, wow, Sakovich has really improved as a writer. Like, I actually love the other two bonus chapters even more because they have Andrew in them, so obviously. But this one also is like, it gives so much context to these characters and to the story, and it's well written. There's some really good lines. It fits perfectly into canon.
And it, like, gives us new insights into canon.
Yeah. It's not just some superfluous, like, meanwhile, this character was doing this other thing. It actually is meaningful, and yeah, I think she did a great job with it.
Yeah, agree. One last thought. The fact that David is specifically searching for Kaylee's disapproving glower means that she glowered at him disapprovingly and he remembers it, which I think fits again with our theme of David wanting to be tied down by Kaylee.
Yes, I can see that. I think, yeah, because up until this line, he doesn't say how she disapproved of him ever.
You're so right. Like, he's like, she's bright, she's vibrant. But yeah, like, why would, like, I guess we're imagining, like, some disagreement, like, because they're working out all this XC shit. But yeah, like...
Yeah, I think Kevin's disapproving glower must look a lot like Kaylee's.
Oh my god, you're so right.
Because Kevin knows how to glower. Kevin knows how to be disappointed in people. But yeah, until next time, let us know your thoughts on social media. We are the Foxhole Cast on Tumblr, Instagram, and YouTube. You can go ahead and follow us or subscribe to us wherever you're listening. We're on like Spotify and other ones.
Yes.
I think we're on like Amazon Music and everything.
Oh, nice. Yeah, YouTube.
iHeartRadio. Yes, we're on YouTube. You can watch these as videos, but it's not a video. It's just it's just our logo.
And the one subliminal image that you put in each time.
Can you imagine? You can find all of these links and more at thefoxholecast.card.co. Until next time, thanks for listening.
You were amazing. No. You were amazing.
Good.
Thanks.